And of course, I haven't forgotten about this whole survey thingy that they did in Maxim magazine. I have it right in front of me, so I'm going to read to you exactly the survey as it says. So, pretty much they took a survey of 5,000 women aged between 18 and 40, and here's what most of them had to say. And this is all about sex and having a better sex life and getting more women to have you. So, so here we go. Here's the first question. How often do you daydream about sex? 12.6% of women said at least once a week. 41.4% of women said at least once a day. 3 to 4 times a day said 37.3% of women. And 8.7% of women said, sorry, what was the question? I was daydreaming about sex. So yeah, women tend to daydream about sex at least once a day. Once. So you can see it's not just us guys that daydream about sex the vast majority of the time. Next question that was asked was, how often do you masturbate? 13% of women said once a month. 23% of women said once a week. 45.1% of women said a few times a week. 11.6% of women said every day, and 7.3% of women said never. Okay, a few times a week. Not too bad though, but of course everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, masturbation is so gross. No, it is not. It is perfectly normal and healthy for people to masturbate, okay? So out of the 7 who said never, I'm probably sure they're full of it, or they're hardcore Christians and it's like, oh yeah, I saved myself till marriage, and all this other BS nonsense though. But it's not gross. Enjoy your body, enjoy your life when everything is right and functioning. The secret sign I'm into a guy is 17.5% of women said I get diarrhea of the mouth around him. 36.1% of women say I laugh at everything he says. 30.6% of women say I touch his arm or leg when I'm talking to him. 0.9% of women said I carve his name on my arm. And 14.9% of women did a write-in saying, quote, I bitch about everything he says, but stare at him all the time. So, as long as you can make a girl laugh, then you're in the ballpark. So you're pretty much there, which is what the vast majority of women said. And here's a little interesting fact. 37 is the percentage of women who would rather date a bald guy or a fat guy over one who is shorter than them. So, you guys out there, keep that in mind. But that's only 37%, which is not really a big number, but just to keep that in mind. Also, 33 is the percentage of women who expect you to go down on them if they go down on you. So, pucker up. So yeah, pretty much that's what it is. You help me, I help you. That's like the trade-off. That's what it is in a nutshell. So, another thing to keep in mind, 33%, that's 1/3. 1/3 of women. But then again, probably most of them don't like when you go down on them. So, who knows? Next question. What is the most important quality in a boyfriend? 3.1% of women say he's hot. 1.2% of women say he's loaded. 56.7% of women say he's funny. 8.2% of women say he's great in bed. 0.7% of women say he dresses better than my gay friends. And 30.1% of women did a write-in saying he's into me more than I'm into him. Again, 56% of women say he's funny. Humor is key, but try to keep it clean as best as you can. What underwear do you prefer on a guy? 26.1% of women say boxers. 2% of women say tighty-whities. 68.4% of women say boxer briefs. 0.5% of women say banana hammock. And 3% of women say commando. Boxer briefs, huh? I used to wear boxer briefs, but now I wear boxers, so yeah, I kind of downgraded, but I don't really care because underwear is underwear to me. Tighty whities, not really my style. Banana hammock, I probably couldn't rock that for the life of me. And I tried doing commando a couple of times, but there's always that fear of getting it stuck in the zipper. Yeah, ouch. The biggest deal breaker on a guy's Facebook profile is, this could be interesting. 12.9% of women say he has an excessive number of friends, in parentheses, more than 1,000. 22% of women say he checks in everywhere. 9.2% of women say everything is private, such as photos, friends lists, wall posts, stuff like that. 42.1% of women say he has tons of photos of his ex-girlfriend. And 13.8% of women says he has tons of photos of cats. Okay, photos of cats, there is a limit to when there can be excessive amount unless your partner likes cats. And if you still have photos of your ex-girlfriend up and you're dating this girl or you're seeing this girl, take them down, please. Because obviously she's your ex-girlfriend for a reason. 68 is the percentage of women who admit to watching porn when their man isn't around. 68. That's a lot. And you think that we guys are the only ones who watch pornos. No, sir. It says right here, 68% of women watch porn while we are not watching. So see, we're not the only ones. Women do it too. Which of this year's chick flicks made you the horniest? Obviously, this one's a no-brainer since I know movies. 70.2% of women said Magic Mike. Go figure. 12.4% of women said Titanic in 3D. 4.5% of women said what to expect when you're expecting. And 12.9% of women said The Expendables 2. Really? That, okay, well I can see that because it's a lot of action stars from the 80s though, but getting turned on by them now, they look really, really old. They're not really, like, they look like crap, no offense, but yeah, like I said. Now this one is called WTF File Number 1. Why she really went out with you? Hint, it wasn't your winning personality. So here are some of the reasons why the only reason why a girl went out with you. Or some of the women that said the only reason why they went out with a guy was because he had New York Ranger season tickets. And if you don't know the New York Rangers, that's hockey. So pretty much he had hockey season tickets. He had a car and would take me to the grocery store in college. He bought me a pie. He gave amazing head. He was a bouncer at a club and could get me and my friends in for free. Yeah, so women are getting kind of crazy these days. When you start seeing a guy, how long do you wait to have sex? Here's another good one. So try to hold on as long as possible. That's the name of the game. 17.3% of women said, I'm fine with first date sex. 47.4% of women said after 2 or 3 dates. 30.8% of women said after 7 to 10 dates. And 4.5% of women said, I'm waiting till marriage. So 2 to 3, that's pretty common, you know, give or take, but it's at least 30% of women after 7 to 10. That's a long wait, but if you're willing to go the distance, then okay. Unless you're going to date a girl out of the 17.3% who said after the first date, which means they're extremely desperate and pretty much it's just a one-night stand, hit it, quit it type of ordeal. Now here's a very, very good one. A very good one. How often do you have sex? 7.4% of women said every day. 37.1% of women said 2 or 3 to 5 times a week. 23.4% of women said a few times a month. 27.8% of women said it's been a while and I'm not happy about it. And 4.3% of women said it's been a while but I'm too busy watching Glee to care. So few times a month, I'd say that's about right. But 37.1% of women said 3 to 5 times a week. And there's 4 weeks. So that's about 15 to 20 times sex a month times 12. It's just 12 months in a year at that. You're looking at a lot. So apparently we're not the only one who's sex crazy. Women are too. What's your level of sexting? 23.4% of women said some winky face emoticons. 39.9% of women said dirty text messages. 18.3% of women said photos in my lingerie. And 18.4% of women said nude photos and videos. So we start off dirty, and then you pretty much go from lingerie, nudity, and lingerie, because nudity and lingerie are exactly identical, except the nude beat them out by 0.1%. That's like, damn. But, and not to expect really much. Okay. What female celebrity would you go lesbian for? 44.4% of women said Emma Stone. 29.7% of women said Kate Upton. 10.9% of women said Kate Middleton. 10.4% of women said Giselle Bunchen. Buchen. I can't pronounce her last name for the life of me, but it's German. 3.8% of women said Nicki Minaj. And 0.8% of women said Snooki. Of course, everybody wants to fuck Emma Stone these days. No surprise, but Nicki Minaj and Snooki, yuck. Why would you guys even touch that? That's gross. Okay. When it comes to the rear end, you're okay with 41.7% of women said nothing, stay away from there. 19.5% of women said some fingering. 10% of women said mouth/tongue action. Ugh. And 28.8% of women said anal sex. Bring it. So yeah, women don't like it. Vast majority of them. But to the 10% who said mouth and tongue action, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's gross. Ugh. But it just comes to show that almost 42% of women said, yeah, no anal, just plain old vaginal sex is fine. But if they're going to allow anal, then ask them first before you just go head on, because, I mean, not every woman likes it, and I'm probably sure not every guy likes it. Do you like giving head? 3.7% of women said gross, I never do it. 7.4% of women said only if I get oral in return. 49.1% of women said sometimes, depends on my mood. And 39.8% of women said I love it. So when they say sometimes depending on my mood, yeah, I kind of figured that ties into that one that I said about the 33% of women who expect you to go down on them if they go down on you. That almost sounds like the 7.4% of women who said only if I get oral in return, if you ask me. So, yeah. So, maybe they will, maybe they won't. You just have to wait and see what happens. How many dudes have you slept with? 5% of women said I'm a virgin. 38.7% of women said 1 to 4. 24.9% of women said 5 to 10. 18.2% of women said 11 to 20. 6.8% of women said 21 to 30. And 6.4% of women said I lost count at 30. So yeah, looks like the vast majority of women have only slept with 1 to 4 guys. So you may be second, third, fourth, whatever, but hey, give her something she'll remember. I'm just saying, because you never know what might happen. 58 is the percentage of ladies who would like to hook up with Ryan Gosling. Just 1% would go with the Biebs. So yeah, only 1% of women would date Justin Bieber. So not only do we hate him, but women hate him, and so does everybody else. Now it's all about Ryan Gosling and other stars, because yeah, that's how the world is these days. What's a sure way to give you an orgasm? 32.3% of women said oral sex. 23.9% of women said using his fingers. 18.8% of women said me on top. 13.3% of women said just let me take care of it. 1.4% of women said rereading 50 Shades of Grey. And 10.3% of women did a write-in saying, quote, oral with fingers in my butt. Eek. But yeah, oral sex, no surprise. But yeah, what else is new? Alright, WTF file number 2. Her secret sex fantasies. The most memorable and, quote, in parentheses, and scariest scenarios. So, the weirdest and craziest sex fantasies a girl's ever had. Some of these women have actually said. The most popular is to be urinated on while having shower sex. That's gross. You really want to give a girl a golden shower? That's gross. Quote, taking a girl from behind with a strap on while she gives my boyfriend a blowjob. Quote, acting out naughty skits from video games. Could be interesting depending on the girl and if she's willing to do it. Who knows? If she's into that role-playing kind of stuff. Quote, I fantasize about pirate role-playing. Obviously somebody's watched too much Pirates of the Caribbean. And to have sex with a hermaphrodite. So basically you want to have sex with Lady Gaga. Way to go. 34 is the percentage of women who have made out with female friends in college, while 18% have had sex with a girl. Well, what can you say? It's college. You only live young once, and it's never too late to try anything crazy. And you can try things once. Experiment a little. So, 34% of women did. 51 is the percentage of women who say size doesn't matter as long as a guy's inchworm can go the distance. See? Just comes to show that women are not all about size. It just comes to show how you use it and if you can get the job done right. Oh man. Under what circumstances would you have a threesome? 8.5% of women said only with 2 strangers. And 25.8% of women said, with my boyfriend and a girl we don't know. See? As long as it's 2 out of the 3 people know each other, and the third is just like odd man out, then you guys should be totally fine. I would immediately leave a guy's place if I saw. So guys, keep this one in mind. There's a lot of stuff in here you gotta keep in mind when I say this. And when I say keep in mind, it means really think about this one really, really hard, because it could really affect your overall status when it comes to women. So, I would immediately leave a guy's place if I saw. 28.7% of women said a framed photo of him and another girl. 6.6% of women said an action figure collection. 26.7% of women said one of those, quote, why beer is better than women posters. Quote, or 26.5% of women said, quote, his, quote, bed was actually a futon in the living room. And 11.5% of women said, right as a write-in, quote, a Dexter-style, quote, kill room that's only cool on TV. So, if she saw another girl, well, I mean, that's a toughie, because, I mean, they don't know if that girl in the photo is like your best friend, your sister, your cousin. They don't know that. So try to elaborate. If they ask you who it is, just say, that's my sister, my friend, my cousin. But if it's an ex-girlfriend, why do you still have it? That's my question. Suspicious minds. Have you ever spied on your boyfriend? 19.7% of women said they have gone through his internet history. 32.7% of women said he's checked his texts, emails, call log. 4.9% of women said he's hacked into his Facebook account. And 42.7% of women have said all of the above. Obviously, these women have trust issues and are super obsessive when it comes to their boyfriends. So, guys, watch yourselves, because she could be all of the above. She could be going through your internet history, your texts, your emails, your call log, and she could hack your Facebook account if you gave it to her. But if you didn't tell her your Facebook account and she hacked into it, she knows computers. That's all I'm gonna say. How long do you expect a new guy to stay around after sex? Another thing you should keep in mind. 49.4% of women said the whole night and then take me for brunch. 9.6% of women said until I fall asleep. 28.4% of women said at least a half an hour. And 12.6% of women said he can leave right away. We're done. So yeah, as long as you stay the night and you like this girl and then you take her out to brunch, you're probably going to be ready for another date, or you actually might settle for an actual relationship. But who knows, guys? Anything could happen. 50 is the percentage of women who admit to faking orgasms once in a while, but it's only because they don't want you to feel bad. Let me reread that. 50 is the percentage of women who admit to faking orgasms once in a while, but it's only because they don't want you to feel bad. So half of these women admit to faking it. Yes, the truth can hurt, but they don't want us to feel too bad. Okay, we don't get all, okay, well, some of us will get upset about like not being able to actually make a woman have an orgasm, but I mean, it's like, really? You don't want us to feel bad? Just tell us. If you just tell us straight up. We're guys, we're tough enough, we can handle anything you throw at us. I mean, seriously? Okay. 10 is the percentage of women who have hooked up with their bosses. Well, guess who's getting a raise? Just kidding. What prop or props do you want your man to bring to the bedroom? 25.9% of women said candles and massage oil. 22.5% of women say whips, chains, handcuffs. 4.9% of women said food items. 41.8% of women said sex toys such as vibrators and dildos. And 4.9% of women did a write-in saying, quote, it's kinky, but I love to see my guy in a final bodysuit. Yeesh. But sex toys, maybe she wants to try something new. I don't know. Or, as much as I want to go into much more detail, but I mean, what the hell? It's not going to really matter anyway. But maybe she wants you to try, like I said, something new. And maybe a sex toy can come in handy from time to time. 72 is the percentage of ladies who don't consider it cheating if you go to a strip club. See? 72% of women say it's not cheating if you go to a strip club. Because you're just going there for entertainment. You're not going to hook up with a stripper, because I've heard stories of guys falling in love with strippers and trying to hook up with them and it doesn't turn up so well. So you are safe if you go to a strip club. But I don't know about going by yourself, because I haven't been to a strip club, but I need to do that one of these days, and I'm going to. But going by yourself, going with your friends, bring your girlfriend along. I don't know, because I've heard that girls maybe will like going to a strip club because it could give them ideas that'll work in bed, if you know what I'm saying. Hint, hint, just to keep that in mind. 48 is the percentage of women who would pass up the chance of sleeping with Tim Tebow because they're not interested in virgins. So sorry, Tim, you're out. Now these next two questions are pretty weird, but yet they're just, yeah. Do you have a pet name for your boyfriend's penis? 87.4% of women said no. 12.6% of women said yes. And here are some of the names that they've given them. El Diablo, Fat Charlie, 007. Oh, that's so horrible. They named it 007. Mr. Slug, and Freddie Prinze Jr. Who the hell names it Freddie Prinze Jr.? That's a weird name. And like I said, this next one's going to tie along with this one, and it's really weird. Do you have a pet name for your vagina? 90.5% of women said no. 9.5% of women said yes. And here are some of the names that they've named their vaginas. Vatican City, the Bacon, the Pink Panther. Oh god, that is so horrible. Princess Peach. Someone's in a role-playing video games. And Britney Bitch. Oh man. Alright, we're almost done here. 18 is the percentage of women who have checked their phones for messages during sex. Don't text while having sex. So yeah, 18% of women checking their phones while having sex. Obviously, they're bored out of their mind. And that's no bueno. That's no good. That's no bueno. It's not good. And yeah, don't text while having sex because you don't want to be like, oh yeah, I came. I'm done. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Alright, and the last WTF file, number 3. Screwing in the great outdoors. Some of the oddest localities where these ladies have done it. So these are like public places that women have had sex. Most popular was Rome's Colosseum. Oh yeah. On the top floor of the San Jose City Hall. Oops. On a bus stop bench on Ventura Boulevard. Wow. Underneath the Hawthorne Bridge in Portland, Oregon. Okay. And Arroyo Park in Camden Yards. Or Camden Yards, I should say. Excuse me. So, anyways, guys, I hope that this little clip helped you guys out as far as what to look for in sex. And if anybody who's watching this are women, maybe something to think about, and maybe stuff that you can agree on when it comes to guys and sex in general. So, yeah. Now you know what to look forward to as to what this society has gone to as far as sex and what guys think of girls and girls think of guys, and overall how our sex lives are doing in general. Freaking awesome.